All right, welcome and happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. And this week I've got a little bit more of a planned live stream. And I want to start out by thanking you for being here and talking a little bit about those Tesla production and delivery numbers. 180,000 produced and 184,800 delivered. And I'm really proud to say that we were one of those deliveries. Have the years been on long enough? Probably. All right. But happy Easter regardless if you celebrate. Um, so those are just outstanding numbers. I kept seeing the projections come up on Twitter and thinking, man, I don't know, with S and X not being really rolled out at all this quarter, and just relying on 3 and Y sales, and they had the fire in Fremont, and I think a couple days off in China as well. I thought everybody, even the 160s, might be being optimistic. So to come in the 180s is mind-boggling to me. So congratulations to all of the Tesla folks out there who made that happen. I know our delivery and everything was super slick, and everyone was friendly and helpful as usual. So fantastic quarter for Tesla, but also a good quarter, it seems, for all EVs. One of the things I had been seeing early in the quarter, they always, like the FUD articles start coming out, and it's, Ford selling all these Mach-E's, and they're completely taking away all the sales from Tesla. And it looks like I think Ford's numbers were somewhere in the 14,000 range produced, and 6,000 some delivered. And for the first quarter of them really being available, that's probably pretty good. And the Mach-E is getting a lot of great buzz. I know there are charging issues with Electrify America and maybe their charging curve, but really it seems like that's going to be a great vehicle for people once some software and charging issues are sorted out. So excited about that. And then Porsche, I saw an article about Porsche had their second best quarter in the U.S. this quarter. And apparently a large part of that was Taycan sales. So Porsche seems to be just, nailing it. People are loving the Taycan from Taycan? Yeah, I think it's Taycan. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But they seem to be crushing, their sales goals of the Taycan. And so you put that together with the Mach-E, the interest in the ID4, and Tesla's just phenomenal first quarter with all of those headwinds. EVs are really starting to ramp up. And, the more people own them, the more butts there are in seats of giving friends a ride and everything. And it should just keep snowballing from here. So this year is going to be a monster for Tesla with the, Berlin and Austin coming online. Hopefully some of the energy products keep ramping up. And, it's hopefully going to be a fantastic year. And on that big EV front, the big EV push, I've been kind of harping on the Clean Cars Minnesota rulemaking, and I was all excited because it looked like at the end of March, early April, we were going to get a ruling on that. And I looked online this week, and it looks like that is now going to be decided in May. I believe May 7th is the new date. But I guess that's fine. But considering they started this process in 2019 we kind of missed all of 2020. They did some events and a lot of online things, but this process in Minnesota has just been drawn out longer and longer. And one of my concerns about the rule, I think it's still good and valuable, because setting goals of where we want to go is a good signal to manufacturers. It's why EVs are taking off so fast in Europe and China, is because governments are saying, this is where we want you to be. And not in my animated face, but we want you to be at these targets for EVs. And manufacturers are mostly meeting them, some of them buying credits from Tesla, but it's putting more EVs on the road. So that's great, but I'm wondering, with all these delays and things, by the time Minnesota gets on board, and I don't think it even would take effect, even if it's approved this May, I don't think it takes effect until I almost said 2025. So, or 2024, I can't remember. Maybe it's the 2025 model year taking place in 2024. But regardless, by then, if these trends continues, if the ID4 is a big hit, like it seems like it will be, will it have even been necessary? I guess it's a good, like I said, it's a good target to hit, and it's a good, statement about where we want to go, and it gives the manufacturers some clear guidance. But, hopefully a lot of people are switching by the time that even takes effect. So I think overall, seeing those numbers out of Q1 is a huge step forward. And if things open up this summer, then we are going to be in really good shape to really take those next steps, get more and more butts in seats, more and more ride and drive events, and hopefully just keep spinning that wheel and getting it going faster and faster. I know this week my wife and I were lucky enough to get our first shot of the vaccine, and that's super encouraging that because our daughter has special needs, the clinic she goes through had doses available for caregivers, and since it is a wider release now, we decided to get in line. And so very simple shot, and it's like, there's a little pain in the arm, but it's like if you give blood or were to get a flu shot or something like that. Hurts for a day or so, and then you forgot you had it. But we'll see how dose 2 does. I've heard that can kind of kick your butt a little bit more, but we'll see. But the good news is, as the vaccines are rolling out, more and more events are going to open up, and more of those things are going to really hit that, like I said, hit that flywheel over the summer. So that's great news. Speaking of events, we have signed up to go to the Sound of Silence rally. I talked about that a little bit last time. And so, Todd, I know you're in here, so thank you. And we will see you guys out there, and that should be a great event. I think a lot of people are going to be at that this year. So we will be among them, and we'll see how much, at that point it's the end of May, so we'll see how much we need to do the social distance and mask thing at that point. But even if we do, just the ability to get together is going to be awesome. And of course, we'll be taking our Model Y there. And one of the things my last video was the range test, where I compared it to the Model Y with a Toyota Camry and our Toyota Prius. And the interesting thing, when I did the test originally with the Model S, we had free supercharging. And charging the car is cheaper than buying gas. But I'm not sure if supercharger prices have been raised in the last year, or maybe certain locations are a little higher depending on the state regulations or whatever. But um, I was surprised because with gas we filled up once, and we had 3 supercharging stops in the same 8 hours. And when you add all 3 of those together, the difference isn't that great. I believe in the Prius we had $26 of gas, and I think all of our supercharging together was $20. So still cheaper. You add that up over the year, and especially when you're charging at home for way less than supercharging, it's going to be a big savings over time. But on road trips, it's going to hurt a little bit more than when we had the free, that's for sure. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Sound of Silence too. And we're going to go out there we're going to leave here on Thursday after my wife gets off work and drive about 6 hours or so. We have a hotel about halfway there, and then we'll finish that drive in the morning and maybe go through the Badlands and some of that stuff on our way to Custer, South Dakota is where the event's held. So just kind of take Friday at a little more leisurely pace, still get there early enough for the events, but get an extra day of driving and road trip adventures, maybe do some hiking, and just enjoy the Badlands. So really, really looking forward to that. We were booked on it last year, and obviously the event canceled, which was the right choice. But I was really excited to go last year, and this year, like I said, I think it's going to be everybody is going to go, assuming everything's still safe and we can do it responsibly. So I think it's going to be one of the first semi-post-COVID great like party atmosphere events, even if it's outdoors. But like I said, I'm really looking forward to that. Kind of going with the theme of the title of the live stream, that everyone's an expert, and the adoption of more and more EVs is. I was just seeing a post on Twitter about GMC, yeah, released images of the new Hummer. That's not the truck, it's the like SUV style Hummer. And of course the comments were all, electric can't do it, well, this will get me to move to the Bronco, and all that kind of stuff. And the person who posted on Twitter was tweeting back at GMC saying, looks like a great vehicle, but we have a long way to go in, changing people's perceptions. And, hopefully the manufacturers are hearing that and taking that message seriously. And even on the Tesla side, we have a tendency to, and EV owners in general, but on the Tesla side, we have a tendency to think we know how things are going to be before they're out. And a great example of that is the Stockless steering wheel on the new S and X refresh. So I wanted to touch on that because I've heard a lot about it. And I'm relatively laid back and have let's wait and see. Smart people worked on this. They must have some kind of plan. And it must work, or they wouldn't just ship it out. Well, Tesla's got a somewhat questionable record on some of that stuff, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Um, but they so then the videos came out of, well, if you don't like what the automatic gear selection is doing, but if you don't like what that's doing, you have the option on the screen to swipe up and down. And, instantly, all the comments are like, that'll never work. It's going to be such a hassle. I can't imagine doing that. And it reminds me of when I learned to drive. Before I learned to drive, I was super nervous about it because I guess I just assumed that when you put on the brakes, you also had to hit a button to turn the brake lights on. And when you put on your blinker, you didn't put it on and it held and did the blinking for you. I thought you had to do that every time. And so before I did, my first drives, I was really nervous about, could I remember, what if I didn't remember to put my brake on, or, my brake light on when I hit my brakes? And that seems really, really stupid now. But I feel like that's kind of how we're treating this, some of these new innovations that Tesla does. And, like the center screen. I'm completely used to it now after owning the car for 3 weeks. And I still get lost in some of the menus and stuff, but that's, just muscle memory once I get it. And the brain stops right mid-sentence. Isn't that fantastic? But, we have in our minds what all of these things are going to be like. And then you live with them. And it's like, oh, that's now natural to, swipe up or down or whatever it's going to be. So I kind of think it's cool and wonder if we could even get a software update in the Y, even though it's got the stock. Like, will that be the way we just do it from here on out? So we'll see. Hey, Tyler, how's it going? How's the Volt sale going? I saw you posted that. That's a big step. I hope you get a good price on it because I know you really like that vehicle. So, and then are you thinking of going to, I think I saw you're looking for Model 3 if I'm correct. But I hope that goes well, and I hope you can find a good Model 3 at the right price. And I hope you get a good price for your Volt. Because, like I think you said on Facebook, the only problem with it is it's a gateway drug to going full EV. So hopefully it's somebody else's gateway drug too. But that's cool. I hope that all goes well for you. Oh, you got a buyer already. That's fantastic. I got 2 computers going here, and so with my old eyes, I can read the comments, but they're a little laggy on here. 3 long-range all-wheel drive performance, if the price is right. Performance would be fun. I still keep telling myself I'm not going to get I'm not going to select the $2,000 acceleration boost, but it's just sitting out there haunting me. It's always in the back of my mind, like, well, if I got the right job and, could, sock a little something away, maybe my wife wouldn't mind, but I don't need it. I have to keep telling myself I don't need it. But good luck with that. I hope you can find the right car. Oh, wow. You got a great, that was a great sale on the Volt. So congratulations. Yeah, hopefully Yeah, I know it's easier said than done, and I don't really need it, but we'll see. Speed is fun, especially if I'm going to do ride and drive events. I feel like, there's something to be said about having the most knock you back in your seat acceleration that you can, but like I said, got to do some more some more freelance work before I can swing that. Uh, oh, you're going for Team Blue. Fantastic. That's a great way to. Blue is the way to go. Um, sorry, Todd. I know you like black, but. So, unless you guys have another topic you want to talk about, um, I was going to talk about opening up superchargers to other EVs, as we're talking about, the sales and everything that are seem to be just on a roll. There's rumors that Tesla is going to open up supercharging to other EVs, and my first thought was like, oh man, am I going to end up having to wait? And then I thought, well, if they're putting money into the system and can get those locations we've been wanting to have built, then, it's probably ultimately going to be a good thing. And from what I've read in the rumors, I can't remember where I saw this, but somebody had posted that it sounds like it would be for cars that can take a good, a pretty high charge rate. So I don't know if that would leave Bolt owners out or not, but I guess their battery's relatively small, so maybe they wouldn't be there that long. I'm not sure, but it sounds like they'll need an adapter and the Tesla app, and then they'd be able to use it, assuming their vehicle can charge at a certain rate. So we'll see how that goes. It's probably good from a standardization standpoint. Let everybody use every charging system available. And then maybe at the same time, Tesla would put out their CCS adapter, and we'd be able to use that. So I think it's another one of those, like, everyone's an expert. Everybody knows exactly how it's going to go before it happens. But I think once that's turned on, we'll see a huge rush, and there will be all these stories, about, being blocked, or not being blocked, but, having to wait because Mach-E was charging or a Taycan was charging. But I think that'll fade pretty fast, and if those other companies, or maybe just having more people in the pool paying for charging, will be the catalyst for opening up more stations and maybe more stalls at each location. They seem to be starting to build bigger now. Some of those ones across South Dakota, like we were talking about, there's 4 stalls, and if one bank is out, because they're the 150s that share, if one bank's out, you've got 2 working stalls to charge from. So, places like that could be dicey, but it's also South Dakota. So are they going to be the quickest uptick of EV buyers? Probably not. Let's see what you guys are saying. Honestly, okay with bolts being left out. They'd be there for an hour. Okay, that's what I was thinking. If they top out at about 55 kilowatts, it might be a little too slow for superchargers. And Tyler, do they hold 55 for a while, or does it taper pretty badly? I've never charged one before. Yeah, it will be interesting to see who's the first one to use it. I know Aptera has the port in their Alpha vehicle, and I can't tell if that's just for publicity or if they've got permission to use it, or permission. I guess anyone could build one that's similar, um, or take the parts and make something that works. But who knows if that'll make it to production. Taycan would charge faster than a 3. Yeah. Yeah, Leafs. Man, I don't know if Leafs could do it, because aren't even the new ones still CHAdeMO? And I feel like that would be a ridiculous adapter going from, I mean, it would be like the reverse. Don't say that. I feel like it would be the reverse CHAdeMO adapter, which just seems really like that would be maybe put a big strain on the Supercharger cable. I don't know, but I don't think they charge super fast either. $30 to 55% until 30 to 55 kilowatts until 50%, 40 until maybe 70, 20 after 80. Yeah, so getting up to 100 would take a little while. But anyway, that's going to be interesting. And, I'd love, because I don't know if you guys have seen Kyle Connor's dongle. Yeah, that's a great word. But I don't know if you guys have seen Kyle Connor's video he just put out recently about his road trip in the Mach-E. And I was watching some of those live streams while he was doing it, and it seems like it's so close. Like Electrify America and Ford just need to put a couple engineers in a room together and knock this out, because it was super frustrating to watch while he was live streaming and then watch the video. And he was even a little more explicit on the in the video about, you guys, I want to recommend this, but you're making it really hard. And, that's kind of how I felt when we had the issue with the CHAdeMO adapter in North Dakota, too. I still want to do another test with that, but that's for another time. So, I think if you were in the market for a Porsche or a ID4 or a Mach-E, and they said I know dealers have said you can use the Supercharging network already, and it hasn't been true, but if it could be true, then, that would open up, although there might be a little burden to us current Tesla owners, it would really open up the world to EVs for tons and tons of people. So, for the good of the mission, I think it's the right thing to do, and hopefully they can make it work. It'll be interesting to see if they say anything or if anybody asks questions about that at the earnings call. I think Rob Maurer was expecting that would take place on April 21st, I think he said, because it's usually on a Wednesday after hours, but we'll see. Yeah, Mach-E's charging curve was disappointing. Yeah. But hopefully they fix it, and everybody can get on the EV train. One other thing I wanted to talk about and is something that really surprised me when we were picking up the car. You know, I know Teslas are made in the U.S. and everything, but you know, and with Tesla, I guess they have to make these sheets, and I didn't even think about it because you're doing it online, and like, I follow Tesla, I know all the stats, I know all the details, even though I couldn't find out how to turn on screen clean mode like an idiot. That's for a video that's coming out tomorrow. But I was really struck by this section here. Where can you see that? You can see it. Oh, kind of. Parts content information for this vehicle. U.S. and Canadian parts content, 60%. And I knew they were made in the U.S., but I kind of figured, you know, the batteries are assembled in Nevada. The cars are assembled in Fremont. But that surprised me. And then major sources of foreign parts content, Mexico. That again, you know, that's North America. 80% of the car is manufactured from parts from North America, and that's fantastic. And then obviously finished and assembled in Nevada and Fremont. It made me really want to check out a bunch of other cars and see where made in the U.S. vehicles are really made, because I didn't think on this kind of sticker it would be, I know this isn't super granular, but I didn't think it would even be, you know, broken out like this. Yeah, for this vehicle, final assembly point, Fremont, California. Motor assembly, USA. Gearbox transmission, USA. Battery final assembly point, Fremont, California. Onboard charger final assembly point, Fremont, California. So I thought that's fantastic, and it's even more U.S. made than I expected. So thought that was pretty sweet. I saw a few other things coming in the chat here. Yeah, the Tesla standard, the Tesla charging port is fantastic. It's so light, and you know, there's no extra flap you have to flip down, you know, when you're using level 2 to level 3. I know to use a J1772 you got to use the adapter, but you know, it's light and easy to use. I don't know if, I think they're trying to standardize CCS even more, and I don't know if that's part of a push for vehicle to grid stuff too, but I guess it just doesn't seem as slick. Now maybe in the end it'll be able to handle more power, and so maybe Tesla will eventually evolve into that. Excuse me. Yeah, the thing that's really interesting, and you know, it's so frustrating as an EV owner to have to explain all the different levels of charging and then all the different connectors. And there's a channel, I can't remember, I think it's called Plug and Play EV, is doing kind of a base level, here's how you charge a car and here's the differences. And he tried to make it really simple. And even as someone who knows it, I was like, this is really hard to follow, and you're doing a good job explaining it. And you know, that's frustrating as an owner, trying to explain that to people who are curious, you kind of see the eyes glaze over. And they're like, well, why doesn't Tesla just use what everybody else is using? And my answer, and I think this is correct, is that, when Tesla was starting, I guess with the Model S, because the original Roadster has a different port, I think. But then when they made the S, they knew, okay, we need something that can be standardized, charge faster, all that stuff. So it wasn't clear. I'm not even sure if CCS was a thing then. If it was in its infancy. And there was CHAdeMO, but, CHAdeMO is big and heavy and clunky and not very Tesla aesthetic. So with no real clear winner at the time, Tesla made something that was sleek and slick and, obviously, is still doing great, 10, 12, 13 years later. It's still a very functional port adapter, whatever you want to call it, plug. And so it's not that Tesla was like, screw you guys, we're doing our own thing. It's that there wasn't really a thing, at least in my understanding, and they, said, here's this great thing that we can go forward with. So, yeah, the struggle is real. That's where I think a lot of people who are interested in EVs get a little lost, where they think, when you see that glaze over look when you're explaining charging, you start to lose them, I think. And they're like, I'll wait till it's like a gas pump where you can go to anyone, and as long as you don't get diesel, you're going to be fine in your car. So hopefully more standards or adapters can come into play, and it'll be easier and easier for people to understand. Speaking of that, somebody asked a question about apps, and I only use TeslaLab, but I know there's like Teslafy, and there's like maybe the Stats app, and there might be a handful of others, for tracking charging and battery health and all that stuff. So sometime this summer, when we can get together, it might even be something we could do at Sound of Silence, would be to get some people who are really good with the various apps and kind of do a roundtable discussion, either a live stream or a just a video we could put out that where people who, because I'm not an expert. I've got one app that I rarely check. I kind of forget to do the check-ins and stuff, and I've got PlugShare, but I'm always at Superchargers if I travel, so I don't think to log in on PlugShare of unless there would be an issue or something. It's like it's a Supercharger, it works. So, but I think it would be cool to do a roundtable with people about kind of talking through the different apps, what they use, why they prefer it. Because there are some people like me who will be excited and download something and then never use it. And then other people, what's my battery temperature, every 20 minutes, and, have it all plotted out. I do not have that kind of brain. But anyway, that's just an idea for the future, something fun I would have loved to do last year, but again, let's try to hit some of that stuff this year. Yeah, got my little list here. I'm actually prepared this week. So something else come up here. But yeah, I feel like stuff like that is just general knowledge. So somebody else might have a video out of it or on it already, but if you don't find it or you're in a different friend group, some of that stuff, I think the more that's out there, the more people can find and again, help that adoption rate over time. I almost forgot to bring up the jobs. I can't remember what they called the infrastructure bill Biden's proposing, and it's big. It's got a lot of stuff in there, and some of it I thought was really great. If we can up to 500,000 charging stations across the country, by 2030. Again, that's one of those, like, will we hit that organically already? But again, setting good, bold targets is good. Interesting thing on the EVs, and I don't know exactly that. I don't have a clear picture of how this would break out, but he was talking about there would both be point of sale rebates and tax incentives, and it seemed like they would apply to different groups of people. So maybe that would be based on income, which would kind of be great, because if you're in a lower income bracket, let's say you get a $10,000 point of sale rebate, that means your taxes on that vehicle are going to be lower, and you don't have the burden of getting the loan for that amount right at the time. But if you're in a higher income bracket, chances are you have that tax liability, and you also don't need as much help. So maybe that's where the $75,000 or $7,500, big difference, $7,500 incentive might come for that. So it'll be really interesting to see, and I know at this stage it's all proposals, and once this gets into Congress and they start debating, who knows what we'll really end up with. But I thought it was a bold, good place to start, because pretty much all of the like dealership association folks who were arguing against Clean Cars Minnesota kept saying this isn't the way to do it. Basically, we don't want the burden on us to make cleaner cars. We want you to put in place incentives for consumers to come and buy these vehicles, and then we'll make what people want to buy. So this kind of gives them the thing they were looking for. So I feel like there should be some support from dealership associations and manufacturers on this part of the proposal, at least. So that was fantastic, and part of it, a big part of it, was Buy American. And as I was talking about before with the sticker, that's a lot of American right there. That's a lot of U.S. employees getting paid. So that's fantastic. Modern resilient grid, that's probably great for Tesla with the battery storage products and auto bidder and all the things they're doing. So there are other companies, I think, doing some scale of battery storage. So more of that, more renewables, all good. And then I was really surprised at how particular he was about closing the orphaned oil wells. And, he made the point of, these are wells that aren't producing anymore. And to close them, you need the skilled people who dug the wells to do the closing. So this is jobs for people in the oil industry. And there are, I can't remember the number from Well Done, but I think it's 5.2, 5.3 million oil wells, orphaned oil wells in the U.S. So, that's a lot of work for a lot of people for a long time. So, I was glad he kind of articulated that. We'll see if, how much traction that gets, but that's such a no-brainer for anyone of any political stripe who likes the outdoors. If these things aren't producing, let's shut them down and let's pay the skilled people to do it. Makes perfect sense. Now, really, the oil companies who drilled them should be paying for it, but we know how likely that is. More efficient housing, battery tech, and investing in research and development of battery tech and clean energy. And another point he brought up was basically how if we don't get on this, China and Europe are going to eat our lunch technologically. And really, without Tesla, they would be doing it right now. So it's really, for strategic importance in the future, it's good if we kind of hold our own destiny in that. So investing in that in the R&D side and development side is going to be super important going forward. But one thing really confused me, and I'm not trying to talk politics here. I'm talking just sustainable stuff that I think will be good for Tesla's EV landscape, all that stuff. But he was talking about replacing lead pipes. And on the face of it, that makes a ton of sense because lead is bad, right? But I found it interesting because from my understanding, when lead pipes had been used, basically once water goes through them, like all of our pipes have had water going through them for a while now, they build up a coating, and so the lead isn't leaching into the water anymore. And again, everyone's an expert, right? My understanding of the problem in Flint was when they switched water sources, the new water had a different, I don't know if it was more alkaline or more base, but basically it stripped that coating out of the lead pipes. And so that's why all the lead was leaching into the water. So I don't know how urgent switching out all the lead pipes everywhere is. It seems like from an infrastructure standpoint, and will it cause a lot of people to have jobs? Yeah, that's going to be a monster project and probably is good long term. I just don't know. I'd be interested to talk to somebody about the urgency of that. Obviously in Flint, they're working through that replacement process, and there it is important. But I wonder how important it is nationally. But again, what do I know? Sorry, just checking my notes here. And I saw a couple other things. Yeah, so that was pretty much all I wanted to ramble on about tonight. I've got a video coming out tomorrow about my top 5 accessories for the Model Y. And they aren't real flashy or sexy. Ooh, I know, really sell that video, right? But they're ones that I think are relatively important, and then a bonus item or two. But as I was making that video, one of the items is, if you're going to have a new Tesla or newer Tesla that can play the games, you want to use the gaming controllers in there so you can play things like Cuphead and have a little more control when you're doing beach buggy racing. And so I shot my piece where I'm talking to the camera, and then got into the car to shoot the B-roll, had my wife come sit with me, and we're going to play the game. And I thought these controllers had worked, but I think they're Xbox One controllers. And it seemed like in beach buggy racing, it was almost pushing me slightly in reverse without touching the controller at all. And my wife was having some different issues. Then we tried Cuphead, and we could get through all the menu screens. But then, like, once you have to move the character, it wouldn't move. And so you're stuck talking to this teapot or something, just sitting there going, and it's like, what's going on? Why doesn't this work? So I saw online on one of the Reddit threads or something that maybe plugging it into an Xbox will update the firmware. I think, Todd, that was you and Brandon had suggested that might be the case. So I'm going to see if that works. If it doesn't, I'm not going to suggest those controllers, because so far they've been a pain. But I am looking forward to doing Tesla gaming. And last week on the live stream, I talked about maybe teaming up with some friends of mine, the 5 Count, who do a radio show in southern Minnesota, in Mankato. And they have a YouTube channel, the 5 Count Co-op, where they play old Nintendo games. And I just kind of threw it out last week that, I want to talk to them and, see if we can get a collaboration or crossover. And they watched it and were like, yeah, let's do it. So we're working on a schedule, and I think that's going to be very entertaining. I don't know. I probably will stay out of it for the most part, because those guys are so funny together. Unless they want to have me in the back seat to make fun of, but we'll see how that goes. I'd like to shoot that in the next few weeks, but we're still working out the schedules. But that's going to be really fun, and kind of a different way to talk about the games in Tesla and some of the updates and things. My plan for next week is, so the accessories video is probably going to be tomorrow. Then I think next week is going to be attempting summon and, excuse me, and using smart summon. And that's where I was talking a little earlier about how some things are rolled out. They're, if they aren't that important, sometimes they're a little iffy. And I've had a mixed bag of results with it, but want to do some more testing and a lot of different examples in a lot of different places to see how that is. And even if it's not doing great, it'll be a good measuring stick for, it sounds like in April we might get a good software update with quite a few improvements, hopefully. And if that's the case, then we'll be able to see, okay, it did this or that a month ago or on the last software update. How is it doing now? So we'll have that benchmark. But Todd, I appreciate you will watch my video even if the accessories aren't super flashy. But I think they're useful, so I wouldn't have made a video about things I don't think are useful. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But unless you guys have something else you want to talk about, I think that's it for me. I'm going to rest up so I can run around the house finding an Easter basket in the morning and maybe spend some of the day watching church online and seeing how much egg dye we can get all over the kitchen. But Tyler, I appreciate that you'll watch it too. That's 2 views. I'm moving up in the world. But thank you guys for hanging out. We at least talked about some things this week instead of the kind of train wreck of last week's live stream. I apologize about that one, but I was really just trying to sort the new software out. But thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Look for that video on accessories tomorrow at some point. We'll see. I'm going to try to get that controller issue figured out before, because I don't want to be suggesting something that doesn't work. So we'll get that sorted out, get that video out. But have a happy Easter. Take care, and we'll see you on the road. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night. Now, where is that other button?